Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are doing the Panchadasi, 12th chapter, where Vidyaranya Swami describing the Ananda, the happiness that one gets, and starting with the 11th chapter to the 15th chapters, where the Ananda, which we call Brahmananda, is expressed in different ways, because Brahmananda is Satchit Anandam, and Satchit Anandam is infinite. Brahman means infinite, and infinite cannot be perceived or cannot be known also. But yet, the infinite pure consciousness exists in Brahman is getting reflected as though into the mind, because the mind has a capable of reflecting the consciousness, and by reflecting consciousness, mind becomes a conscious entity. Just as we said, the reflecting sunlight, the moon becomes a luminous entity, although moon by nature is not a luminous entity. Same way, mind being inert does not have consciousness of its own. Consciousness is a borrowed consciousness from the all-pervading consciousness, which is Satchidananda Brahman. But when it gets reflected, the mind has the capacity to reflect, and it has the capacity to reflect not only the Sat existence, because mind exists, and also mind reflects the consciousness also, because it's a subtle material. And as long as the mind is localized in the body, the reflected consciousness through the mind pervades through the body, and therefore body also becomes enlivened or becomes a conscious entity, and that is the expression of life. So life is nothing but pure Satchidananda consciousness, which is all pervading or is eternally present, but gets reflected as though, because mind itself is presence is only as though, it's a maya, yama, sa maya, that which appears to be there, but it's not really there. But as long as one is enclosed in the mind, or the mind enclosed in the body, is an individual, and the mind, not knowing that I am reflecting the original consciousness, feels that I am an independent consciousness, different from the other minds that are also reflecting the same all-pervading consciousness. So each mind, not knowing the originality or not knowing where the consciousness is coming from, says that I am an individual, that I am this. And therefore the whole confusion starts, but not knowing the truth of my own nature. And therefore that pure consciousness, when it reflects both the Chaitanyam as well as the existence, but it doesn't reflect the Ananda, because for reflection of Ananda, the mind has to be calm and serene. Then only, not only the Sat and the Chit, but Ananda gets also reflected. So depending upon how mind is calm and serene, the nature of the reflection or the nature of Ananda is also expressed by the mind. But the mind in the deep sleep state, where there is no subject-object duality, because the intellect, the buddhi, Vijnanamaya Kosha, itself is folded, and the folded Vijnanamaya Kosha is called Anandamaya Kosha. And that Anandamaya Kosha, where there is no subject-object duality, because I don't know anything, that's the nature of constant, I don't know. The Akhanda Akara Ajnana Vritti remains in the deep sleep state. So I know I am there in the sense that I exist because I say I slept very well. At the same time, I don't know. So both the existence aspect is recognized later when the mind is awake, and also recognize that I was happy there because there is no subject-object duality. That is Dvaitam. So Advaitam, nature says, is the essence of the happiness because in that there is no duality. But unfortunately in the deep sleep state, because the mind itself is folded, it cannot recognize that happiness. It's not the absence of happiness, it is not recognize that I am happy while in the deep sleep state. If it recognizes, that means he is not sleeping. So only when I am awakened, I say I slept very well. And obviously I say I enjoyed it because I would like to go to sleep. Nobody wants to get up from the sleep. And that is essentially implies that one was really comfortable in that. But the vasanas of propel him to get up and I want to do this, I need to do this, blah, blah, blah. All those things will start and the mind gets agitated with I and this, because this is the whole world starting from the body. Idam shariram kaunteya. So this starts with the shariram, and shariram includes, as Krishna says, starting with the mind also and all the feelings also. That is called kshetram. And this mind in the waking state cannot feel that pure ananda because it's constantly agitated. But if it can, by yoga or by constant meditation on the truth, if it can be quietened and become serene, then it can also reflect the ananda, and it can recognize, if there is a Vedanta Stavanam was there, it can recognize that the ananda is coming from pure I am, which is Satchidananda Swarupam. So therefore, it is the knowledge plus the experience, both are required in order to establish that I am essentially the Ananda Swarupam. Not only Sat Swarupam and Chit Swarupam, but also Ananda Swarupam, because I can recognize, not only experience, but recognize that I am that Ananda, because in the state of quietened mind, I can see and I can feel that I am that. And to arrive at that quietened mind, I need a sadhana. I need either karma yoga and the bhakti yoga, upasana yoga. All yogas make my mind calm and serene, and in that sense I will see pure consciousness pervading everywhere, and same consciousness expressing in different minds as a reflected consciousness. And same life is going to be expressed, but I can now know what exactly life means. Here in this chapter, a student asked the question, "Sir, I understand all that. What about those people who are not able to appreciate this? They are all running after the objects. I want this because that gives me happiness, this gives me happiness. So how can we teach them?" So student is concerned about them. So the teacher says, you are very much concerned about those, but they are not worried about themselves. Until they themselves turn their mind, you cannot teach them. Even Krishna says in the 18th chapter, do not teach this yoga to those who do not have the faith in me. So those faith means faith in the higher reality, who can turn their mind towards the higher, whether in terms of the Ishvara or in terms of this pure Brahman. They have to have the inclination to turn the mind. For that, one has to have a proper samskara. But if they are ready and they do not know yet, then you can teach them. How do you teach them? You say, you are going after these objects, but those objective Vishayananda is only a reflection of that Ananda only that you are experiencing, because there is no Ananda in any Vishaya. Any object doesn't have any happiness, but whatever happiness that you are experiencing is only a reflection of the pure Satchidananda only, but only reflected when the mind is quietened, when the desire has been fulfilled. In those moments, you feel happy, but you associate that happiness to the Vishayam, that is to the object that you got, but actually the object helps you back to reach yourself or your own state, and therefore that is the reflected happiness of pure Satchidananda only. So there is a degradation of Ananda in the Taittiriya Upanishad. This is Moda, Pramoda and Ananda and so on. These are the degrees of happiness depending upon how calm, quiet, serene the mind has become in those states. Now we are answering that all happiness is due to this, and not only happiness, we express I love this, I love this, I love this. Why do I love anything? I love anything only because it brings happiness, and this is the teaching of the Yajnavalkya to his wife Maitreyi. Hey, Maitreyi, Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Only for the sake of oneself only everything else becomes priyam. Priyam means you start loving that only because for your sake, not for the sake of the object. So he gives an example starting from husband doesn't love his wife. What he loves is the happiness only that she brings in. Same way, wife doesn't love her husband. What she loves is only the happiness she brings in. So each taking each example one by one, as Gurudev used to say, that he gave so many examples only because he is teaching his wife. So she makes sure that she understands it. He gives several examples. Here Vidyaranya gives even more examples and says anything and everything that you love is only because of that only. Starting from your own son. You say, I love my son. It's not for love, for son's sake. It is for that. So how do you say, I love my son? This is in this sloka that we are going to do now, 30th. Says, I love my son more than I love somebody else's son. So it's not the love for that, there is a degree of love depending upon how close they are towards me. So the mamakara, this is mine and that's not mine, and that makes a difference in terms of my love also. So if this is mine, I want to protect it, and therefore my love to me ultimately, because I is involved in that. I and this is together becomes a mine, and that because of that association only is where the love comes in. So I am has to come in before this comes in. So whenever I get a first thing is I am, and then only everything else. Oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do that. All other this thoughts come only after I am. I am comes because I am always there when the mind is awake. And this is what essentially is being described here in this chapter. Let's chant the sloka 30. Atmartatvena sarvasya, Atmartatvena sarvasya, Pritischatma yati priyaha, Pritischatma yati priyaha, Siddho yatha putra mitrad, Siddho yatha putra mitrad, Putra priyatarasthatha, Putra priyatarasthatha. Together. Atmartatvena sarvasya, Pritaschatma yati priyaha, Siddho yatha putra mitrat, Putraha priyatarasthatha. So sarvasya, of all everything, Atmartatvena, everything I love is only for the sake of oneself. For my, I don't know, it's not for my sake, it is for that. But by doing that, I'm more happy. So ultimately it comes to me only. So Atmartatvena, for the sake of self alone, sarvasya, everything, pritihi, is dear. So Atma atipriyaha, therefore Atma, the self, is most lovable thing for me. So I may not express it, I love myself, but I love myself is expressed in I love this, I love this, I love this, because I love this not for their sake, I love this for my sake only. So I come first in all. So this is essentially essence of here. So Atma atipriyaha. So Atma he means indeed is atipriyaha. The self is indeed more dear. And Siddhaha he, this can be seen easily. Yatha putra mitrat putraha, putraha mitrat putraha, is Priyataram Tada. Putraha, your own son, and Mitrat Putraha, the son of your friend, and Priyataraha is more you love your own son more than you love the other people's son. How does it prove? Because this is mine and that's not mine. And that mine is superimposition on top of Isvara Srushti. Isvara Srushti is everything. But what they say, this is mine and that is mine, is possessiveness comes from the Jiva Srushti. The other fellow, because of my raga dveshas, I superimpose on top of Ishvara Srushti, and this becomes, this is mine and this is not mine. And that differentiation, and therefore differentiation in the love also, that mamakaram comes because of ahankaram starts. Ahankara means I am this and that is of mine. And these two, ahankara, mamakara, are because of ragadveshas or the vasanas that cloud on top of Ishvara Srushti, a Jiva Srushti is coming in. And that is because of the differences of love comes because of that. Therefore, the conclusion is, everything is done for my sake. So Atma, for Atmartatvena, for the sake of myself only, I do everything. And that is the essence of that. And how does love for myself is expressed? And this is done in the next sloka. Mana bhuvamaham kintu Manabhuvamaham kintu bhuyasam sarvadechyaso ashihi sarvasya drishteti pratyaksha pritiratmani together. Manabhuvamaham kintu bhuyasam sarvadechyaso ashihi sarvasya drishteti pratyaksha pritiratmani. In fact, this is a reflection of a somewhat similar sloka by Vidyaranya in the first chapter. This is Ayam Atma Paranandaha Parapremaspadam Yataha. Same theme again. Ayam Atma Paranandaha Parapremaspadam Yataha. How does it express? Manabhuhammi bhuyasam iti prematma nachate. So in that he already established the same. Ayam Atma Paranandaha. I am, this Atma is the most supreme Ananda. Because Ananda comes from the only Atma only. This Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. And that is same as Satchidananda Brahma, that I am. And that comes from my own self. And that way, I am Atma Paranandaha. And Parama Premaspadamaya. This is the source of highest happiness. And Mana Bhuvam hi Bhuyasam. So, Ma na Bhuvam. So, let me not cease to exist. So, I want to exist all the time. So people say, I am suffering so much, I want to end this life and all that. So what they want to end is not themselves, they want to end their suffering, and the suffering is the one problem. If you remove the suffering, they want to live for more. So everybody wants to extend their life one more day, even though they may say, I don't want to live anymore. Because that is the love for oneself. Because when you love oneself, you want to extend yourself for longer also, because your nature is infinite and therefore eternal also. That's what how Gita Upadesha starts, where nobody really dies. So ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. Only shariram is gone because the equipment is bad. We will go to another equipment to exhaust his vasanas. Here it says mana bhuva maham kintu. So aham ma bhuvam. So let me not cease to exist. Na kintu sarvada bhuyasam. So it says, it may be always be there, ever present all the time. Iti asau ashihi. This is the asha of everyone. This is the desire of everyone, that I want to live forever, because that's my real nature. Therefore, that's why Arjuna cries that the Bhishma and these people are going to die, and they thought that's the end of life. He says nobody ends. So ajo nitya shashvatoyam. So it is Puranam, that is beginningless. Therefore there is no death for the Atma. That's what essentially expresses it, that I want to live forever. Sarvasya, in all beings, društva, this is seen, that I want to extend, I want to be all the time. Iti atmani pritihi pratyaksha. This how the love for oneself is expressed as. Don't say I love myself. You don't declare anybody to say I love myself. But I love myself is expressed in terms of desire that I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, and also that I want to extend myself that anytime, forever actually. This is how the love for oneself. Therefore, Vidyaranya in the first chapter says, Ayamantma the Paramanandaha, Parapremaspadamyataha. It is supreme love for oneself. So next. Ichyadibistrivihi prityo siddhayameva atmani Pritau siddhayameva matmani putra bharyadi seshatvam atmanah kaischidhiritam atmanah kaischidhiritam Gadar Ichyadibistribhi pritau siddhayameva atmani Putra bharyadi seshatvam atmanaha kaischidhiritam. So ityadibihi so is concluding this statement here. In these example that I have given by these stribihi means these three. That means number one the shastram, then and the second one is anubhavam, and third one is the logic. So this is the order of the expression also. One is the Shastra says so, and next one is the experience also says so, and also logically also this is true. So by these three, and Shastra, Anubhava and Yukti, and this becomes a hierarchy of the logical establishment of the truth, and Evam in this way, Atmani in the self, Priti Siddhayam, we establish that one loves oneself because it is the nature of happiness. Why do I love anything? Because that is a source of happiness. So if I love this because it's source of happiness, I love myself only because I am the very source of happiness. Because happiness doesn't come anywhere outside. Happiness comes from myself only. We know logically that is true, because anything that I say, there is no object wise, there is no real happiness in any object. Because I love this, but the other fellow doesn't love this. Therefore, the same object doesn't give happiness one fellow and unhappiness to other fellow. Because happiness, I love this because my raga makes it that when I get it, I am back to myself as I am. My mind is satisfied with fulfilling the desire. Therefore, the happiness I am tapping from my own self. Therefore, ananda comes from myself. Therefore, love also is for oneself. So, whatever that gives happiness is what one loves. And that's why putra bharyadi seshatvam. So the putra son, bharya wife, and adi, etc., starting from your own wife and children. I love this, all because of you love yourself only. Atmanaha. So all these things are essentially is due to Atmanaha, from the point of in the self only. All these things are being expressed only. Iritam, it is said. So if that is the case, an objection comes from the student. Sir, Upanishad says that the sun is the Atma. So there is an Upanishad statement, Aitreya Upanishad, that comes in the Aitreya, where it says the Atma vai, the Putraha, the sun is nothing but your own Atma. So therefore, you love sun more than you love yourself, because that is Atma. So you say you are loving yourself more than Putra, more than son, but the Upanishad says that is Atma. So therefore, when you are living it, you are living Atma here, and therefore the love for the son is more than love for yourself. That's how he concludes, because the Upanishad says so. You say Shastram is the first. So Shastram, and then Anubhavam, and then Yukti. But this is how the Vedanta also is telling. So how can you say that the son love is less than your love for Atma? And I don't agree according to your own Vedanta. It doesn't seem to be right. So he is quoting now the scriptural statement. Etad vivakshaya putre, etad vivakshaya putre, mukhyatmatvam srutiritam, mukhyatmatvam srutiritam, atma vai putravameti, atma vai putranameti, tattvopanishadam svutam, tattvopanishadi svutam. Together, etad vivakshaya putre mukhyatvatvam sutiritam atma vai putravameti tattvopanishadi svutam. So here he is quoting the Upanishad statement, say atma vai putranam eti. So therefore, tattva Upanishad svutam, that this Upanishad has clearly stated that Son is your own Atma. So, etam vivakshaya, to emphasize this only, Atma vai putranama, it is Shruti iritam. Thus, Shruti says that the Atma is indeed is same as Putra, in the name of Putra, is the Son. And Mukhya Atmatvam, and this is the primary Atma, Tat Upanishadam Svutam. Therefore, this is the statement of the Upanishad. So why do you say that the love for the Son is inferior to love for your own self? Because everything else is secondary compared to primary. Primary is your own love, and secondary is love for your Son, and then love for other things as you go along. But so this hierarchy is not correct, because the Upanishad statement is that the Son is as good as your own Atma, so your love for Son should be is as good as your own self also. So that was the student objection, and he continues for his argument some more in the next few slokas. Sosyayam atma punyebhyah, sosyayam atma punyebhyah karmabhyah priti dhiyate, कर्मभ्यः प्रीति धीयते अथास्येतरात्मायं कृतकृत्यः प्रमीयते. So together, सोऽस्यायमात्मा पुण्येभ्यः कर्मभ्यः प्रतिधीयते अथास्येतर आत्मायं कृतकृत्यः प्रमीयते. So asya is the pitasya, saha ayam, that this ayam, this Son is Atma, is his own self. Why? Because punyebhyaha karmebhyaha, for the purpose of his punyam, that means because of the Son only, is not going to go to Punnamanarakam. So for this he is getting a punyam by having Son. So that is why he should love his Son, should be his own self. Punyebhyaha and karmabhya, and for doing the rituals on behalf of the father. If the father is not capable of doing the action karmas that are prescribed by the Vedas, then the putra can be entitled to perform the karmas on behalf of father also, and therefore putra is a reflection of the Son only. So this is what here the argument of the student here. So punyebhyaha, and for the purpose of karmabhya, for the purpose of rituals also, pratihiyate is authorized. Atha, therefore, asya ayam, this father, itaraha atma. So his own self is his own. The Son is his own self, a second self, and therefore his love cannot be any less than his own self also, or himself. Therefore, itaraha atma, that his self, krutakrutyah, having fulfilled the duties, pramiyate, he leaves the body. So when the father leaves the body, he authorizes the Son by that, you are authorized to do actions on my behalf. We are talking about first Vedic actions. So all the ritualistics that are done by father now is handed over to the Son by a process, and from then on the Son can take over and do. If father cannot do it, Son can do it, even when father is incapable and away living also. And this is what essentially Upanishad says, and therefore the Son should be is a reflection of Atma. So you cannot say that love for son is less than love for your own self. So this is the argument. In fact, this argument he continues for few slokas, and ultimately the Vidyaranya summarizes and says how what is Gauna Pradhanam. When the scripture says it is saying that statement for the sake of rituals, but absolute, it's not the absolute truth. Called Gauna Pradhanam. It is the indicatory type of definitions and not. He gives example is that he's like a lion. He gives an example of the fellow is like a lion. He's a lion among the people. Not that he and the lion are same. It's called Gauna Pradhanam. In sense only is as though like a lion. So the son is as though like my own self in order to perform the ritual. So one has to be careful. Even the Vedic statement is not absolutely truth. It is in the secondary meaning only some has to be taken. That's how Vidyaranya is going to explain it. That we will take up after this in the next class. We'll stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasisthate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.